So, lesson 6.6, solving right triangles. Okay, so this is basically an amalgamation of the last three units. So, sine ratio, cosine ratio, and tan ratio. So, you're presented with a question. Solve for y. And it's a right angle triangle, by the way. Of course, this is all about right angles, right triangles. So, what do you have here? What angle do you have? Relative to this angle, what two sides are relevant? Adjacent, the hypotenuse, and the opposites. So you wonder, what could you possibly do? And then you get an idea. And you know that tan theta equals opposite over adjacent. Sine of theta equals opposite. Oh. You're not sure which one. It's all mixed up and you don't know what to use. So here's something to help you remember. It's called SOH CAH TOA. SOH CAH TOA, which means sine opposite over hypotenuse, cosine adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan, which is opposite over adjacent. Whoops, adjacent. Anyway, it's written down. SOH CAH TOA, so. Sine opposite over hypotenuse. CAH, cosine adjacent over hypotenuse. Right? CAH. And TOA, TOA. SOH CAH TOA. So, what do we use? Well, do we use opposite over hypotenuse? Do we use adjacent over hypotenuse? Or do we use opposite over adjacent? It depends on what we want, which is y, and what we have. So that's opposite, that's hypotenuse, and that's adjacent, all relative to this angle, 57. So I have the hypotenuse, I want y. I have opposite, I have adjacent. No, I don't have adjacent. So I'm not going to use TOA. I have adjacent, I don't have adjacent. I have hypotenuse, but I can't use TOA because I don't have the adjacent. I want the opposite. I have the hypotenuse, and I can find sine of 57, which is just a regular number. So I'm going to use sine. So sine of 57 degrees equals opposite, which is y, over a hypotenuse. So you say y equals 15. Basically, it's 15 times sine of 57. Sine of 57 is just a number. It's a ratio. Sine of 57 equals times times 15. 12.58 is my answer. So it says two trees are 80 meters apart. From a point on the ground that is 25 meters from the left of the first tree, so let's just say first from left to right, second. I guess the question could be more clear. Of the first tree, the angle of the elevation to the top of the trees is 20 degrees. So obviously that's 20 degrees. And 26 degrees. So obviously that's the bigger angle, so that'll be 26 degrees. Okay, so that's 20, that's 26. How much taller is one tree than the other? Well, we have one right triangle and a second right triangle, and we want to know how tall one tree is and how tall another tree is. how much taller. So I want to know that difference right there. I want to know the whole tree minus that difference. So to get this side, that's the opposite side, I need opposite over adjacent. I don't have the hypotenuse. So I need opposite over adjacent. I can't use cosine. I can't use sine because I don't have the hypotenuse. So I can't use neither the sine ratio or the cos ratio. So I'm going to end up using the tan ratio because I do have the opposite. And I need the opposite and I have the hypotenuse. That's what I'm going to use. So opposite over 25. My adjacent is 25. And tan of 20, we can just put that into the calculator. 25 times tan of 20, whoops. That's equal to 9.09, which is about 9. Okay, my next thing will be to find the length of the next tree. Okay, 25 plus 80 is this length right here. Okay, but we know that the angle now is 26 degrees. So we have to multiply 105 times 26. Sorry, tan of 26. So we say something like tan of 26, close brackets. And we can say equal. We can say answer times 105. $51.2. That's what we end up getting. So that is 51.2. What's the difference between here? That's just 51.2 minus 9, which is 42.21. Therefore, one tree is larger. Example 2. There's a person standing on top of a triple-decker bus. So there's some kind of a bus and there's someone standing on top of it. Can see the bottom of a tall building at an angle of depression of 30 degrees. So someone's standing somewhere and the person looks down at the angle of depression. That means 30 degrees lower than the horizontal. And they see the bottom of a building of some sort. Whatever. He can also see the top of the building at an angle of elevation of 55. So at the angle of elevation of 55, you can see the top of the building. The bus is 40 meters from the building. So let's just pretend that that's a bus. It's 40 meters from the building. How tall is the building? Okay. This is how it's done, basically. You got the 40 meters from the building. You have angle of depression is 30. Angle of elevation is 55 degrees. Just clean that up a little bit. (30, 55 degrees). Whoops. And how do you solve it? 30, 55, and you have this as 40 meters. Okay, well, what do you have? You have this line right here. So let's look at this 30 degree. We need this length here. Okay, that's opposite of my 30 degrees. And this is adjacent right here. So how am I going to solve that? I can use, what do we use? Let's write it down. SOH CAH TOA. What do I don't have and don't need? I don't have the hypotenuse. So I don't need that ratio. I don't need that ratio. So I'm going to use tan of 30 degrees equals opposite over adjacent, 40. So my opposite is going to equal to, multiply it both sides by 40. You have 40 tan of 30 degrees. Now how does this work? It's 40 times tan of 30. Remember, these are two numbers. So tan of 30 40 times tan of 30. It's 23.09. So opposite equals 23.09. What about this height right here? That's also an opposite, and we have an adjacent. So we can do tan of 55 degrees, my 5s always look like 3s, equals opposite over 40. So now opposite, the next opposite will be equal to 40 times tan of 55 degrees. And let's see what that works out to be. 40 times tan of 55. And that's equal to 57. So the height of the building is 57 plus 23. Height equals 57 plus 23, and that's equal to 80 meters. Therefore, the building is 80 meters tall. And that's it for example 2. Next question. 2 people at a certain distance apart on the ground see a person waving at them from a bridge. Person A and B see them at a respective angles of elevation of 38 and 52. So one of them sees them at an angle of elevation of 38. It's the further one, by the way. And this one's going to be 52. It's hard to tell by just looking at them, but just think about it. The closer I get, the larger my angle is going to get, right? If I'm right under, it's 90. Then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. The bridge is 45 meters high. How far apart are the people on the ground? Assuming they're in the same side of the bridge and in line with the bridge. So what's this distance? Well, we can find this distance, and we can find this distance. Okay, how do we do that? Whoops, that's 45. So let's measure this distance right here. And this angle is 52. So what do we have? We need the adjacent. We don't need the hypotenuse. Once again, we're going to use tan because we have opposite and adjacent. So tan of 52 degrees equals 45 over adjacent. And then that would be equal to, multiply by adjacent to both sides, ADJ times ADJ. Let's erase some of that. So we cross that out. So, and then divide by tan of 52. So ADJ equals 45 over tan of 52. So let's solve for that. clear. 45 divided by tan of 52, close bracket, equals, so the answer is 35. So here, ADJ, Spider-Man, equals 30, was it 35? Yes, approximately 35. So that's equal to 35. Okay, this is 38 degrees. So let's find that out. We use the same ratio. We use tan of 38 equals 45 opposite over adjacent. And if we do the cross multiplication, we get 45 equals ADJ times tan of 38 degrees, in which case we can rewrite it, divide by tan of 38, which is just a number. 45 divided by tan of 38 degrees. And we see that ADJ equals, let's solve it, 45 divided by tan of 38 degrees. And we see that that's 57.6. Or let's just say 58, approximately 58. So, Batman is 58 meters from the bridge. Spider-Man is 35 meters from the bridge. They are 58 minus 35 meters apart. 58 minus 35, 23 meters apart. And that's the answer. Do questions like that. So we need to find x. Basically, they share this side. So how do we do that? Well, we know that that's 44 degrees. We know this side right here. What do we need though? We need this side right here. What do we have? We have this angle. We want the opposites. We have the adjacent. We don't need the hypotenuse. So what does that mean? Let's find opposites. Let's call it, so tan of 44.7 degrees equals opposite over adjacent, which is 28.3. So then opposites is just going to equal to tan of 44.7 degrees. Whoops, we usually put the number in the front, but if not, we'll just surround it by brackets so it's clear. 28.3 times tan of 44.7. So let's solve that. 28.3 times tan, I think 44.7, was it? Let's see. Yes. So my answer is 28. So opposites equals 28 meters. Okay. So we know that this equals 28 meters. We have this angle. So in reference to this side is adjacent, and this side is opposite. So we can use our tan. Tan of 60.2 is equal to opposite, which is x, over adjacent, which is 28. So then x equals 28 tan of 60.2 degrees. And this is multiplication again. This is just a number, right? Tan of 60.2 times 28. Tan, clear. Tan 62.8. Right? That's just a number. It's 1.94 times 28. Well, that's 54.48. Equals 54.48, which is approximately 54.5. And that's the answer. And that's it for SOH CAH TOA.